so it's less romantic comedy and more of the action because, I mean, let's face it, Oliver Queen is kind of like DC Batman-ish, but with more grit in certain aspects, I guess you could say. So for that, less of the comedic aspect, more of the action and more of like the machismo debonair. But I did feel in the beginning they spent way too much time on that freaking island, like flashbacking, like so much character. They had more than necessary. So now they just need to get to their points and make their points. And I think if they do that, then if they have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, it'll just keep the flow level.
Yeah, I'm completely uninterested with the flashbacks this season.
What would you do if you had a chance to do a series like Arrow? Would you do it like the Moffat way? Like say, why give 22 episodes of filler and whatever? I'll just knock it down to 10 good episodes.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I'd rather, because that's actually bring up a good point with that. Because with other shows that have smaller runs per season, like Peggy Carter over at Marvel, they only have like I think it was 9 or 10 episodes. But that production money that they would have otherwise, they can go into the actual episodes themselves to get better sets, better costumes, better action sequences, what have you. I would, if I was going to be like show running and I had like a story where it's like you have to make this last X amount of episodes but make them good, I'd be like, just give me 10. That's all I need.
I think that's the best way to do it.
So I think that's the best way. Unless you're like a Leviathan, like Supernatural, where you can get 24 episodes a season and like just go crazy.
But Supernatural has a really open plate of subject matter, so they can do that.
Anyway.
Supernatural's got that cop out where they die and come back, die and come back, die and come back.
Hey, Walking Dead.
It's so ridiculous. So yeah, they can do that. Arrow's been all right so far. The flashback scenes, I feel, the season could actually go.
Right.
Because they had. I'm sorry. Like I get that there's like a plot or like a theme parallel, thematic parallel,
right,
with what happens in the past versus what happens in the present. But this one's just not interesting. I don't care about Oliver hiding out with some chick.
That could have been gone like 2 seasons ago. They didn't have to bring it into season
because
2.
They're trying to make it all tie up to like the 5-year mark because that's how long he was on the island. So you're gonna get 5 years worth of flashbacks. He's already left the island like 2-3 times. So it's like that whole idea of him being stranded. You weren't really stranded on an island. You just kind of lived on an island for a little while while going to other cities.
So that's already
kind of broken.
Did anybody check out the 100?
Oh wait, briefly, that was the one about the aliens and the shipper or the people on the ship coming down to Earth, right?
Correct.
And the pods. Yeah, I was talking about this a few weeks back. It seems like it's interesting. It just really depends on how they do the character types for the main people on Earth. If they do the stereotypical like the jock, the pretty girl, the manipulator, the evil guy, like it's going to get old real fast.
This is CW, right? So they're all going to be pretty. You're just going to have the pretty jock, the pretty girl, the pretty evil guy.
This has been my problem with like the WB, WPXI, whatever they want to call that channel. It's always been like Calvin Klein TV to me because they do that. It's just So if they go and they invest in the screenwriting for the show and actually like have a purpose for the show and it doesn't end up like the 4400, then maybe there's hope. Otherwise, I'm just going to look at it like the 4400 or whatever other random, alien-ish visitor show they've had come out for the past like 10 years.
Yeah, admittedly, I forgot that show was coming back. But
yeah, that old movie of Roddy Piper. Remember, the aliens came down. They looked cute. They put the sunglasses on and see who they were.
They live.
They live. Yeah. I mean, V was great. Even the remake of V that they did later on was beautiful. Like,
V was. I remember the original V. I actually used to watch it. That was actually pretty good.
That was good.
Actually, pretty good.
Oh, did you guys hear that From Dusk Till Dawn, they're actually, the series, they're actually putting the second season on DVD?
I was surprised they got a second season from that.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, a really quick explanation. From Dusk Till Dawn was a Robert Rodriguez film from the 90s. And that was, help me out here, Dean, that was George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino, right?
Yeah, I remember.
The Gecko Brothers. This series is a serial version of that movie, which basically means that it's the same story, but it's all protracted and they have all these extra plot yarns and stuff that they've added to it. So you have the FBI, you have this Santeria cult that's involved. You have a lot of this like is it Aztec or Mayan? I don't know, Aztec or Mayan mythology that's been worked into it. It's good. I just didn't know how long they could like stretch that into an actual series.
So what did they do? They made them, because I know in the movie they just made them seem like they're vampire hunters, like they're just really good at vampire.
No, correction. They're actually thieves, and they get done pulling off this heist. They're basically fleeing the country to go to Mexico, and they hijack this family's camper. They're supposed to meet up with this guy's contact in Mexico at this bar called the Titty Twister, and they're supposed to stay there the night, and then they'll meet up with them in the morning. And it turns out that bar is actually a nest for vampires. So they're not vampire hunters. They don't even realize that they exist until they get to that place, and then all hell breaks loose.
So for the TV show, like, how do they do that though? Because like by the end of the movie, they're like officially vampire hunters. You might as well say, and they just leave and escape. But how do you take that movie and make it a TV series though?
Well, but by the end of the movie, everyone except George Clooney and the daughter, whose name I cannot remember for the life of me, but I really dug her. They're all dead except for George Clooney and her, and they just kind of go their separate ways. In the series, it's a lot more convoluted because the younger brother gets like weird visions, and he's like picturing this like weird dark Mayan goddess, and there's like apparently like a cult of vampires that have been tracking them. It's all over the place. So who really knows which way it's gonna go? I guess they've added so much to it that it can have legs and just kind of do its own thing as a series. But yeah, it wasn't bad. I'm not clowning it, mind you. It's good.
And before we go into video games, let's go through something else. This is a new online series that Marvel is doing, Ask Marvel. So that looks very interesting. What they do is they basically talk to different actors playing the superheroes, playing the villains, and here's a shot. So it's pretty cool, that fans actually get to ask the questions that they want to ask. Who's your favorite superhero? Who's your favorite villain? What you thought about filming this scene? How'd you prepare for it? Those are all the different questions that people ask. So that's pretty cool that
so it's like the Hollywood Insider for Marvel, basically.
Say it again?
Oh, so I was going to say, for like us, we have the Hollywood Insider. So it's that just for...
Yeah, like a one-on-one where the fans are basically Seacrest. The fans are the ones asking the questions. So I thought that was pretty cool for Marvel to do that, and good time, especially.
They should try to do that over at DC, because they just casted Lauren Cohan from Walking Dead as Martha Lane. So like a little Q&A, where it's like, how does it feel transitioning from Walking Dead over to like the DC universe, where it's two separate comic franchises?
Right.
Does it feel all that much different? Is one better than the other? That'd be pretty interesting. That'd be cool.
That would be interesting.
Natural before she was on Walking Dead.
She was on Natural. She was on Supernatural. She was on a few things. Yeah.
She was on Supernatural before she was on Walking Dead.
Played Bella Lugosi in Supernatural, and then she got her soul taken by the Hellhounds. It was great.
Yeah.
All right, so before we make a transition, you did say something, Drew, about the Legends.
Oh, DC Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that slew between Arrow and the Flash, the highlight for me easily this week was the series premiere of DC's Legends of Tomorrow. That is the spin-off of the Flash and Arrow. And I thought I came into it saying, it's like, you know what? This is DC characters with Doctor Who. That's exactly what the show is, so I'm patting myself on the back for getting that one right. It's the character Rip Hunter, who was played by Arthur Darvill, who was in Doctor Who. He played Rory. He is Rip Hunter. He is a member of the Time Masters. So tell me if this sounds familiar, guys. He's a member of the Time Masters who sees that Vandal Savage, after he's taken over the world, he wants to stop him. The other Time Masters are like, nah, B, you can't do it because our job is to observe. We never interact. So what does Rip Hunter do? He steals a ship known as the Wave Rider, a time machine, and he goes to the past to recruit a team of superheroes to help him stop Vandal Savage throughout time, basically. Great concept. Totally sounds like Doctor Who. And spoiler alert for those who haven't watched it, the idea that you find out towards the end of the first episode that because of this act that he's done, Hunter is not only no longer considered a time master, but also the reason that he chose the characters that we've seen from Arrow. So it's like White Canary, you got Ray Palmer, you got
Captain Cold.
yeah, that's it. You have this slew of characters, and the reason that he chose him, you realize, is that because it's not because they're supposed to be legends, but it's because they're the characters that no one cared about. They're not legends in history. No one knows about them. And there's a funny parallel that they make with that with Ray Palmer's character, because he's like, I died. Remember, like when he was experimenting and the whole lab blew up and everyone thought that he was dead? His thing is, it's like I was officially dead and nothing changed.